Welcome back to another episode of Togo Tell You. I'm Ryan,
I'm CJ.
and we had another great week of college football playoffs. We had four games this week. Ending the new year, we had Penn State versus Boise State on New Year's Eve. We had starting the new year, we had Texas and Arizona State as the first game on New Year's Day, and then ending the night was Ohio State versus Oregon. And then Thursday, January 2nd, we had Georgia versus Notre Dame. All four games pretty good, great moments in all of them. Starting off with the Penn State Boise State game, a game where a lot of people had a lot of expectations because it was Ashton Jeanty's first chance to get on that big stage against a great defense. And Penn State's defense was just able to shut him down, even though he had 100 yards. They made him the focal point. They had at one point they had like five guys rushing just Genty, and they had which led Boise State to have a wide open guy. So when you put that container on him, it made it hard for Boise State to win. CJ, what were your takeaways from this one?
Yeah, Penn State's defense been playing great throughout the playoffs and all season long, getting the turnovers when needed. They got four here in this game with three interceptions thrown and a forced fumble. When you look at the way the defense shut down a number one running back, not allowing him to get a touchdown and only 100 yards on a man who's been averaging around 200 all season, that shows you a lot, as well as being able to get these turnovers on a team that did not turn the ball over all season. I said last week that coming into this game, if Penn State was able to get the turnovers, they can make a deep run in here, but I didn't think that was going to happen against Boise. And showing me that shows me a lot about this team. Drew Aller not having to do too much, throwing for 171 and three touchdowns, and Katron Allen on the ground for 134. But this Penn State team is really revolving around this defense, but they also can get it done on offense, which I think makes them scary. You have Tyler Warren, who's absolutely amazing this whole season. Should have been up for a Heisman when you really think about it. He had another two touchdowns to add to his resume here in this game. And I think Penn State's a scary team coming into this Final Four.
As Penn State teams, a team that I was not having high expectations for. I'm known to be a Penn State hater, but they have really proven me wrong, and they have been exciting to watch. Their run game plus their defense has been very exciting, and not putting too much pressure on Drew Aller has made it easier for him to be able to succeed. Like you said, the three touchdowns. So great game for them. They will be playing Notre Dame in the semifinals on January 9th at 7:30. We'll get into the Notre Dame game later. Second game we had of the week on January 1st was Texas versus Arizona State, where Texas was able to get an early lead, but Arizona State was able to fight back. Scatabo was able to keep rushing the ball, doing what he does. He was a little cocky before the game, but he did show why he could be a top running back in college football. The game went into overtime after a missed Texas field goal with time expiring, and then a huge conversion by Quinn Ewers and the Texas on 4th and 13 in overtime for a touchdown that would then lead to them scoring their second overtime drive, getting the 8 points and winning the game. CJ, what were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, Quinn Ewers able to establish his offense early. He threw for 322 and three touchdowns, did have a turnover, which was costly towards the end, but he was able to manage this game well. He did have his top receiver, Matthew Golden, go for 150 and a touchdown. So being able to air the ball out really helped them in this game as they didn't use the run game that often. As you had mentioned, Cam Scatabo, absolutely amazing player. Ran for 143 and two rushing touchdowns. He also received for 99 yards and threw a passing touchdown. So just a man who could do it all. And as you said, I mean, even at halftime, he was getting a little cocky and kind of mad at his team, but he showed why he could do that. A lot of players even going up to him after the game. And I had recently seen that he is a third round projected NFL in the draft this year. So that's something to keep an eye on. Stan Levitt, even for Arizona State, threw 222 and an interception. But as I said last week, I think Arizona State did have a chance in this game, and they showed that with Brett Auburn missing two huge field goals.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a really great game. Going into overtime, it wasn't something I expected, especially when Texas jumped up early. But a great fight. It was probably the best game of the week, and it's one of those things where it shows why you should have the new 12 team bracket because a team like Arizona State, which who wouldn't have made it, did get in there and put up a fight. This isn't a debate of the 12 team bracket though. This is just a review of what happened. So Texas goes on to play Ohio State at 7:30 on January 10th. We'll go into the Ohio State game now. A game where this is the team I picked to win the national championship and the team that CJ picked to win the national championship. Obviously, my team won 41-21. Ohio State absolutely at no point in this game was sweating. It was an early 21-0 jump, and they just never looked back after that. They were able to get it done in the air, on the ground. Their defense has been lights out. So this is just a complete win by Ohio State, and it goes back to that game where if Will Howard slid a second earlier, Ohio State could have been the one seed in the whole bracket and the number one team in college football. But it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, they got it done when it mattered most. And again, this is a thing where it's comes down to the controversy of the bracket because Ohio State being a better team did Oregon got a 1 seed and still had to play them. So very interesting. CJ, what were your thoughts on this one as an Oregon fan and a team that or person that was rooting for them all year?
Yeah, I was looking for a lot from Oregon here in this game, but you do play the same team twice. You usually don't end up getting them that second time. This was a Chip Kelly masterclass. Just the way he produced the offense was absolutely outstanding. Howard going for 319 and 3 touchdowns. He's been doing it all day and all season. And Jeremiah Smith, get this man in the NFL. He goes for 187 and 2 touchdowns. He's been doing it all playoff long. And I think the best thing that could have happened to Ohio State was losing to Michigan because the spark that is ignited under this team, scoring about 40 points a game now in the playoffs, beating Tennessee last week, they're really showing something here.
Yeah, no, as you said, Chip Kelly, a guy he's always been a great college football coach, just did not get it done in the NFL, and he proves it against his old team, the Oregon Ducks. So something you do like to see as an Eagles fan. I do not like him, but it's always cool to see something like that. So and then we go into the final game, which was Georgia Notre Dame, a game where I had a lot of expectations for Georgia, even though they had a backup quarterback. I really thought that they would be able to get it done because they do have a good offense and a good defense. This was a complete defensive masterclass by both teams. It was a close game. There were a few big plays. There was a kickoff return from Notre Dame. There was a fumble at the end of the half by Georgia's quarterback. And so there were just a couple mistakes that were made here and there by Georgia, which ended up to their demise, a 23-13 loss. Um, wasn't really like ever. I mean, after half, it was kind of just all Notre Dame. Like there wasn't really a chance for Georgia. They did have a little bit of a mental swing after a wide open touchdown, but again, it was very tough for them to do anything. CJ, as a Notre Dame fan, what were the thoughts?
Yeah, the boys played like champs. I mean, there's really not much else to say. Riley Leonard only throwing for 90 yards, but he also rushed for about 90 himself. He also had a touchdown thrown. Stockton for Georgia did play well as a backup quarterback, threw for 234 and a touchdown. As you said, the costly fumble really hurt them there. But Notre Dame looked great on defense, getting the pressure early, which is something I'd mentioned of just get this pressure on this young quarterback, and that made all the difference. It was a defensive matchup, which I think will be interesting coming to this game against Penn State, as I don't see that being much of an offensive game. An interesting storyline to watch here is Love, the running back for Notre Dame, did get hurt, so look to see if he does play in this next game here against Penn State, or if that's something that will keep him out. But yeah, just even getting it done on the kickoff return, like just finding ways to produce in a game like this was outstanding.
Yeah, I think Notre Dame did do a good job of knowing that their offense was struggling and still able to find ways to put their team up for a successful win with the defense doing a lot and then the special teams even getting involved. I think those are the kind of wins you need, especially when your offense isn't doing as well. So I do think that these will both be really good games. The first game of the semifinals will be Penn State versus Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl at 7:30 p.m. on January 9th. This game, to me, is going to be a very defensive battle, as we talked about with Penn State and Notre Dame both playing really well defensively in their game so far. Penn State having that great upfront defense and a great run game is going to be really good to see against Notre Dame, whose offense did just struggle, but their defense was successful. So it's a game I'm looking forward to. I think it will be a very good game. I'm rooting for Penn State here. It's probably the first time I've ever been able to say that. CJ, what do you got in this one?
Yeah, two teams here. I've been on all year. It is going to be a great defensive battle. I mean, for Penn State, I'm looking at Jalen Reed, 92 tackles, 3 interceptions on his own. Penn State themselves at 18 interceptions this season. So Riley Leonard, who's had a few interceptions, costly this year, look for him to keep the ball close. You also have a great rush game. Again, I said Love, you're not sure about on the Notre Dame side, but you have Allen and Singleton going for 1,000 yards each of the season for Penn State, so able to get it done on the ground. And again, if Drew Aller is forced to win this game, I'd be curious to see how he is with it because, again, he hasn't had to do too much here in the playoffs. But another thing to really look at is Notre Dame's coaching, just the way that they even played the other night, just with the kicked return. They had a fake where they brought the team on the punt and then they brought them back out. So just coaching like that, and I know a lot of people aren't big fans of James Franklin, so just the coaching is going to be an aspect in this entire thing. Looking at the odds here, Notre Dame is currently favored by 1.5. The over/under set at 46.5. I'm going to go with Penn State in this one. I think they upset Notre Dame, and I think Penn State makes the run to the finals.
Yeah, I painfully agree with CJ here. I'm not really a big fan of either of these teams. Notre Dame lost me a little bit but on the other side, Penn State, a team I haven't been able to get behind, but I do think that Penn State will win this one with just such a strong upfront defense that's going to be able to shut down the run game and possibly even shut down Riley Leonard's legs. So I think it'll be very interesting to see.
Yeah, I'd also like to say that Boise State did get to Drew Aller a lot in that game. So with a better defense by Notre Dame, I would also be scared as Penn State having to defend up front.
No, very true. Going into the second game of the semifinals, the only other game is Texas versus Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. This will be played January 10th at 7:30 p.m. This is a game I'm looking forward to. Two very good offenses. Ohio State's been able to get it done rushing and passing in the playoffs so far. Texas having Quinn Ewers, who was a Heisman frontrunner until he got hurt. So um, great offense there too. And it's just very exciting to see when you have two powerhouse teams like this. It's another SEC Big Ten matchup, which Big Ten has had the SEC's number in all these matchups so far in the just in the college football bowl games. So it will be very interesting to see. I'm excited. I think Ohio State gets this one done though because I think their ability to do it on both sides of running and passing, and their defense has been lights out all playoffs.
Yeah, Ohio State 47 sacks on the season, Texas 44. So it's another defensive game where it's going to be that one possession that can make and break this entire thing. Texas does need to play a clean brand of football. Ohio State has not made many mistakes here in the playoffs. So if Texas is going to have a chance, they're going to have to get it done offensively and get a few stops on defense. Jeremiah Smith, as we had mentioned before, 290 yards and 4 touchdowns here in the playoffs. You have Emeka Egbuka, 72 yards and 81 yards so far in his 2 games in the playoffs. So offensively, it's going to be hard to stop Ohio State. I mean, they're going to get it done as easily as anything. But give me Ohio State here. They're -6 on the line and 53.5 on the over/under. Give me Ohio State versus Penn State, Big Ten championship matchup.
Yeah, I agree with CJ. Unfortunately, again, but Ohio State's been my pick all year long. I think that it'll be a great rematch. Obviously, in the other rematch we had of the Big Ten game, we had Ohio State, Oregon, and Oregon got their number beat by Ohio State. So when you see that team twice, that could be a chance for Penn State to win it all. But I do think Ohio State is the better team here. I think they are the best team left in the playoffs, and I think that it'll be a great Big Ten matchup in the finals if we get this.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone believes in revenge games, but Ewers was with Ohio State for his freshman year, so maybe it's a big
Yes,
thing for
he
him.
played 2 snaps
Yeah,
as an Ohio State Buckeye.
yeah,
That's all we have for today's video. I'm Before we sign off though, I do want to say our thoughts and prayers are with the victims who were affected by the tragedy in Louisiana. Obviously, it's very tragic when things like that happen, and so it's not never about football when things like that happen. We'll
definitely.
be signing off. I'm Ryan,
I'm CJ.
and this was another episode of Tell Your Tell Us. Thank you guys for listening.